Hello, everybody. Gwen Campbell-Mindes here, and welcome to Gwen's Bookish Ramblings. As today we talk about Star Trek: The Next Generation tie-in novel Q-in-Law by Peter David. Peter David has also written the fairly well-known Star Trek tie-in novel Imzadi, which is a frequently sexy, very really, let's be honest, cannon-shafted story about uh, Riker and Deanna Troi and their romance that never really happened in the series and isn't really the subject of my ramble today, but, it's the other thing that Peter David is best known for writing in the next-gen uh, fan base, tie-in novel, fan base community, whatever thing. But we're not talking about that. We're talking about the collision, as it says on the cover here, of Q and Lwaxana Troi, as Q manages to almost cause a war between two almost feuding houses, and also manages to convince Lwaxana Troi that he's in love with her, and then, as Riker says in the hilarious final denouement of this book, she beats the stuffing out of him. They, of course, make the hell hath no fury like a woman scorned crack, but let's be honest, he's been leading her on for basically the whole book. Uh, so those are the two main plot lines of this book. But the big thing in this book is that it is consistently and constantly funny. Anytime that this book starts to show any hint of descending into sadness, moroseness, high drama, it always manages to suddenly take a turn for the ridiculous. When the climax of this book is reached and you have these two large house ships that are gearing up to go to war against each other, during all of this, the servant girl who was given to Wesley as a gift partway through this book, who was recalled to the ship, to the Grazuinus ship, suddenly calls the main bridge looking for Wesley because she thinks Wesley can somehow solve this problem. Um, and it breaks up all of the tension of the moment, and you find yourself laughing hysterically at just the fact that this has come in the middle. Uh, the entire time that we're watching Hugh and Picard and Deanna Troi, who is desperately trying to defend her mother's interests, while her mother, in a lot of ways, plays the role of defiant teenager, saying, I know better. I'm old enough to know what's good for me. Even while Lwaxana Troi is playing that role in Deanna, desperately trying to reel her in. While all of that's going on, we get these constant moments that just break up the tension. When Deanna tries to anger Q into attacking her, and Guinan has stopped it, we get this moment where Guinan informs Deanna that took a lot of guts to do that. Not a lot of brains, but a lot of guts. Because, sure, it takes a lot of guts to stand in the way of an oncoming freight train. It doesn't mean you're smart, but sure, we'll grant you guts. As you can see on this cover here, because this isn't a cover that I found on the internet. This is a direct scan of my own personal copy of this book. This is a book that has been a favorite of mine for a lot of years. And if anybody wonders why I'm not going to edit out or re-record this over that cough, that's because my recording program has been malfunctioning, and this is the fourth time I've tried to record this today, so you'll have to forgive any massive flubs that I'm not even bothering to think about, because I'm really tired of trying to record this for the fourth time in the last hour and a half. Um, so, what this book is, of course, is this is very much wish fulfillment for fans. This is that collision between Q and Laxana that we really all wanted to see, because there's two such enormous personalities, and in a lot of ways there can be nothing more fun when done correctly than watching two enormous personalities just crash headlong into each other. The final scene of this book is basically just a lot of slapstick. It's a lot of Tom and Jerry. It's a lot of Warner Brothers cartoons. It's think of your favorite slapstick cartoon, and that's really what's going on there. She plays racquetball with him by turning Q into the ball and then using a racket on him, and she chases him through the ship and blows him through bulkheads and turns him into a tree, and then threatens to chop him in a, shall we say, delicate place with an axe. This is the book that posits that uh, rather than what is said in The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, which is, of course, that the answer to life's question is 42, in this book, the meaning of life is a nectarine. I'm perfectly willing to believe Q on this one. And watching Laxana have a philosophical discussion with Q, who clearly doesn't quite know how to handle this, because, of course, Picard is very, very rarely willing to engage with Q on that level. Watching Q have this perplexing argument is funny on its own, and the ongoing travails of Wesley and that servant girl who manages to severely injure him repeatedly because she's extremely clumsy is just hilarious, especially the way that it raises his personal stock with other young men on the ship. And the way that this plays like Romeo and Juliet if it were a comedy, also a comedy involving various gods, and set on a spaceship, and let's be honest, it's not very much like Shakespeare at all, actually. But, of course, Laxana Troy pulls this miraculous save out in the end with the powers that Q gave her, and everybody gets there happily ever after, and we even get a brief return of the character known to us as Q2, the lovely blonde fellow in the gray jumpsuit with the green turtleneck who showed up and gave Q back his powers after that time he managed to get himself transformed into a human. As a punishment by the Q Continuum, if you haven't seen the episode. In any event, if I go into any more detail on this book, I will just wind up sitting here and reading the book aloud to you, and as much as I'm sure somebody might enjoy that, I also suspect a great many of you would enjoy reading it a lot more. Assuming, of course, at any point anyone actually watches these videos, which almost no one has as of yet. In any event, I want to thank anybody for listening who's actually listened all the way through, and hopefully I will see you again at some point in the future, and thanks for coming out. This is Gwen Campbell-Mindes signing off in an incredibly cliched farewell. Have a nice day, everybody.